We're live, Mr. Chairman. Are you, sir?
Good night. Good night again, once more to our viewers and listeners, both at home and abroad, and welcome to our Belizean Affairs show number 461. 461. Sitting here with you, Mr. Leonard Brackett, bringing to the nation and the world, you know, um, truth and the ills of our nation and the solutions we offer, and defending our poor and less fortunate. And you know I look forward to be here with you another 461 more shows. So
Looking forward to that
again,
possibility, sir.
it's always a pleasure, my brother. And then we should be joined by Mr. Gregory Morrison.
Hopefully,
We
if we
should, yeah, hopefully, and by
can.
our Monday night chairman, Mr. Gregory Brackett. So, you know, um, there's lots of little technical cleaning up going on lately, Leonard,
So,
I need to do some technical cleaning up. Greg also doing some technical cleaning up. So, because, we are living in trying times, right, Leonard?
definitely, sir.
So, yes, I noticed that as soon as we are on such a hot topic and educating the public and touching some sensitive issues, some little bugs start,
Uh-huh.
bugging and fuzzing around the system,
Yes,
so
sir.
that we kind of delay in bringing out these sensitive issues. But nevertheless, Leonard, we always accomplish our mission, right? Always.
We stay steadfast, sir.
Yes, sir. And again, as always, there's a lot going on. In our nation of Belize and around the world, Leonard, there's a lot going on. It's never a calm day. It's always something. And in the interest of time, Leonard, I'll ask you to again lead us in prayer, as we always start our program with a prayer, then followed by a reading. So,
So,
Leonard, I ask you to lead us in a prayer, sir.
thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'll bow my head, sir. Divine loving Father, once again we come before thy presence, asking that thou would accept our humble expression of gratitude and thankfulness to thee for giving us life, first and foremost, and for having given us the opportunity to still be alive among our family members, friends, and loved ones. We pray that thou will continue to guide and protect us. Those continue to give us wisdom, knowledge, understanding, endurance, perseverance. That thou will give us the words to speak tonight, so that whatever we present
Amen.
may be to the honor and glory of thy kingdom, as well as to the well-being of our country of Belize, its people and leadership. We pray that thou must bless our country, its people, and its leadership. That thou would bless this country as well, and the rest of humanity. Please let the word of our mouth and the meditation of our mind and the contritness of our hearts be acceptable before thee now and always. For us in mercy in Jesus' name. Amen. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Amen. Thank you, Leonard, for that prayer. And again, we give thanks and praise for this day,
Yes,
Leonard, because tomorrow is promised to no one. So we here on this program, we serve the same God, and we subscribe to the same God, and we do not
amen.
subscribe to man, but we subscribe to the Almighty, Leonard, and we give him thanks and praise.
Yes, sir.
Um, Leonard, I go straight into a reading again from your book of Proverbs, Leonard.
My favorite, huh?
That's your favorite, yes,
Yes,
Leonard.
sir.
So I'll do Proverbs 10, 1 to 10, and it reads the Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son makes a glad father, But a foolish son is a sorrow to his mother. Treasure gained by wickedness do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death.
Amen.
The Lord does not let the righteous go hungry, but he thwarts the craving of the wicked. A slack hand causes poverty, but the hands of the diligent makes rich. He
Amen.
who gathers in summer is a prudent son, but he who sleeps in harvest is a son who brings shame. Blessings are on the hand are on the head of the righteous,
Amen.
but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. The memory of the righteous is a blessing, but the name of the wicked will rot.
Amen.
The wise of heart will receive commandments, but a babbling fool will come to ruin. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his way crooked will be found out. Whoever winks his eyes causes trouble, but a babbling fool will come to ruin. The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence.
Mm-hmm.
That's my reading, Leonard, from Proverbs, your favorite book, Leonard,
So,
chapter 10.
um, that particular reading that you just made, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
is very prescient, sir. Very up to date, very, um, very in tune with what's going on in our society today, especially as regards to the leaders of our society. It's a nice passage for reading for
Wow.
tonight, and thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. It just happened to be there, Leonard, and like you say, everything seems to coincide with society as we are living it today, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Um, Leonard, we want to jump straight into our program. Leonard, we were talking on our last program about what's really going on in the nation of Belize as I speak, and the things that people are facing as I speak, the displacement that people are being displaced due to the flooding, um, the hardship that they are having, and what they should expect in the coming days, Leonard. So we will continue along that line because this is what the nation per se, the entire nation of Belize is facing as I speak. So along with other things that is happening, and then the people are witnessing the priority of the government and priority of some leaders, where their priority is at, and it's not meeting up to what the people are going through as I speak. So we'll continue on that, Leonard, because not too long ago, yourself, me, and you, we had discussed while the flood had just happened not too long ago, and we had discussed on certain treatment of certain elements of our society,
Mm-hmm.
and it was publicly displayed for the nation to see how certain element of our society was treated. And then I could see that happening again. I see it coming again, Leonard, right?
Sorry.
And it's so sad to see how, you know, I can't say is that I want to say it and I don't want to say it, right? But for me, it's kind of funny how this present prime minister, this present People's United Party, treat certain elements of our society, and I go straight to the point. The Creole descent elements of our society and the black elements of our society. I see I see a complete different treatment on the other ethnic
Mm-hmm.
group in our country.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, Leonard, it's only me that sees that. But if it's only me, well, so be it. Um, the last flood, Leonard, we see how the prime minister treated the folks in the Belize
River Valley
River
here.
Valley.
Mm-hmm.
We see how long help.
Very dismissive and unhelpful.
Yes, sir. We see how long the help took, and when it got there, it was diminished. So if $10 was supposed to get to the Belize River Valley, when they did reach there, it was only maybe $4 or $5 that reached there. I'm just putting it that way. But while the flood was going on, Leonard, that man went immediately to his constituency
Mm-hmm.
and with nice packages, Leonard. You remember that, right?
Yes, sir.
When the Belize River Valley had suffered more damage than where he took that nice, handsome package in his constituency, and who lived there in his constituency that he took it to. You class, of course, I take it they're Belizeans, Leonard, I would say,
Some of
but
them are.
you look at that area that he took that package of goodies, and you look at the area in the Belize River Valley where it didn't reach how it should have reached.
Mm-hmm.
One could see a clear
Difference. Yes, sir.
difference, sir. So, Leonard, I pass it over to you because you know exactly what's going on, and we watch the weather news outside the country of Belize and inside the country of Belize. We watch the weather forecast, and we see that more
It's,
flooding
it's coming.
is
It's gonna
coming,
get.
sir. And not to mention, Leonard, again, we are in June to November, hurricane season.
Mm-hmm.
So, Leonard, I pass it over to you because we are the voice. We took that mantle up to be the voice for the poor and less fortunate, for those who cannot speak up and speak out on issues for whatever reason. But we here on this program, we are not afraid to call a spade because a spade cannot be a shovel. Period. So I'll
Thank
pass
you
it
very much.
over to you, Leonard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Uh, Before I finish my statement, I want to make a recommendation. Um, in regards to what has happened, what's happening now, and what yet may happen. That is that I think somehow or another the Prime Minister should be able to come up with some funds, create a commission of technical people who can they can take personnel from the survey department, from the lands department, from the meteorological department, from the infrastructure department, and whichever other department they need to get these specialists or these technical individuals from to put together a working commission to provide information on the highlands and the lowlands, the rivers, the river flow, the culverts, the street, the drainage throughout the whole of our country. That is a major task, but it can be done a little bit at a time.
Amen.
Based on these last macro flooding that we've had, it is obvious where some help is needed and could be rendered. It cannot be said that the government was caught flat footed and there is nothing that the government could do because that's not true. What is true is that the government nor anybody else can tell when these flash floodings are going to happen or can tell when these major rainstorms will happen. But we know that we're in the season when rainstorms do happen to the extent that we even have hurricanes, as you said earlier, Mr. Chairman. Um, from June to November is the regular hurricane season. So it's not like we have to wait for some time in the future for us to become aware of that fact. We know that historically to be the fact, as a matter of fact.
Amen.
So if the government is going to be doing its job, which is to look out for the well-being of the people and the country, then they need to put some resources into seeing to it that these catastrophes, when they do happen, there's a possibility that we as a government or as a people can be prepared ahead of time, at least partially, and or there can be some kind of a adequate response to help the people out of the misery or the tragedy. We can't fault the government for the rain coming the way it did, but we can fault the government for not providing the cleaning of the drainage system, the big enough culverts, high enough bridges. All these things are regular things that are happening to us on an ongoing basis. And it's now becoming worse or manifested worse because of the neglect and the lack of good effort to deal with these matters. We have engineers in all these different departments that I spoke of a little earlier when I said that the government can put together a working commission that can address some of these things. These people are already on the payroll. All you got to do is recruit the necessary technical individuals, put them to work on these particular tasks. And if you have to, that will be a justification to increase the wage bill because it's about life and safety and the well-being of the society. Instead of them squandering the money in the tune of millions of dollars, playing hanky-panky and diverting the resources, put the resources to work. It shouldn't be too hard to do. That's what they're hired to do, as a matter of fact. So I would like to recommend that the government get about implementing such a commission with the necessary support and assistance from wherever part of the budget they have to haul these various individuals from, and what other part of the budget they have to mitigate in terms of providing the resource necessary for the safety and well-being of the society. As I said, we are a small country, so we can't expect to have that all done in one full swoop, you know. But let's get busy doing going through the process. We can't have the same roads over and over every season, 2, 3 times for the season, breaking up, and the bridges them getting washed away. Or uh, we are going through this process over and over and over, and we need to stop it. And the way to stop it is to address what's causing it the best way we can. And I don't see
Amen.
us as the government addressing these matters the best way we can. And therefore, I would like to recommend that the government get serious and try and mitigate some of these problems. Back to the issue now about the flooding itself. Some of the drains are not adequately built. They are not wide enough. They are not deep enough, and they don't drain adequately enough. In other words, the, there's not a design uh, way in which the government have spent the necessary money to use some backhoe to dig out some of these trenches or some of these clogged up areas where you have trees falling in the rivers, and those trees block other trees and become a dam and hold back the water, and then suddenly that water break loose and wash away streets and villages. I recall mentioning the other night about in one of our previous programs, not too long ago, about the fact that we have 3 dams: the Chalilo, we have 3 dams up in the Coyote area there that we just bought from Fortis, and those dams are filled with silt. They're soon going to have problems running those machines up there that's supposed to produce electricity because of the siltation. And I'm definitely sure that some of the water that we have running down into those major rivers that are overflowing, in addition to the extra rain that we're having now, they're letting go some of their water out of that dam so that dam doesn't crack or break. But they're not telling the people anything about that because they don't want people to complain and say, well, it's because of how they are managing their affairs that they're causing problems to the society. They need to be able to trap the water and use the water to create the electricity when the dry season is on. Now that the rain season is on, if they're going to let water loose, they got to do it in a measurable way. They just can't wait until they have a big storm like this that we've been having. I wouldn't say this, I should say these, because it's more than one storm we have been having, major storms back to back that have accumulated a lot of moisture up in the mountains. And that moisture has to find a low area in the rivers to flow and get to the sea. They have to clean the rivers. They have to do flood mitigation. They have to fix some of the bridges. They got to fix better culverts, put in wider culverts in areas where it's necessary. Like I said, if they get the commission or the group together, they can have these technical people give advice to the infrastructure department as to where they can put in some of these bigger culverts or where some of these culverts are needed, based on the historical evidence of flash flooding. Another point you brought up a little earlier just now about how the government is mistreating some of the people in the society. The assets of the country belongs to the people of the country, the citizens of the country. It belongs, it's what you call our patrimony. And our patrimony, the Belizean people should get the first choice or preference or material assistance from. There's nothing wrong to provide a little assistance to some other people or someone else. But you can't do that at the expense of neglecting the locally born Belizeans. We don't have enough currently. We're always out there with a tin can in our hand asking other people in other countries to help us. And when they help us, we should be able to help ourselves and others. But we can't have politicians who come and help others and neglect our own people. That's the travesty. That's the evil about their behavior. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
So right on that, Leonard, I have seen some great evil done to our Belizean people. Great travesty, you know. You know, Leonard, you says rightfully that it's not the first flood and it won't be the last. And I just go back to the last one not too long ago. Um, yes, it created uh, havoc along the Belize River Valley, and we see how they move to help these people. And Leonard, as I speak, that a lot of these people haven't recovered fully of their losses.
I recall you
So,
said before, Mr. Chairman, that some of these people have not been given no assistance whatsoever
so
when free assistance was available.
yes, sir. So, Leonard, I say this to say that there is warning already of what will come to these
Hmm.
people again. So, you and I would believe that these these smart minds that you mentioned earlier, the engineers from different departments and all that, and Nemo, Leonard,
Hmm.
was in was involved in the last flooding, right? One would say, right? So they should know exactly what will happen and the area that will be affected, more
Hmm.
or less, right?
Hmm.
So you and I would think that, you know, it will be better planned now, right? I would want to think that these people will not suffer the way they did on the last flood. Put it that way. So we yet to see, right, their actions, right? The willingness of this government to do right by the people living in the low-lying area and the Belize River Valley, right? Because Leonard, they are predicting it, right? They're saying it will happen again, right?
In the next day or two, it should
In
be
it.
coming
Okay,
down
sir.
there already.
Okay, sir. So that's what we are putting out there, what we are seeing, and what we would like this senior administration to do for these people. So let's see again how he will react. We saw how 25 million US dollars went to sarcasm along the coast. Nobody was affected, nobody died, no, they didn't lose their cattle, they didn't lose their crops, they didn't. But that $25 million, Leonard, is gone in
Imagine
a
what that
matter.
could have done for the people in the Belize Valley area.
Well said, Leonard, right. So a lot of people wonder why we speak this way, but we speak truth, Leonard, right? We speak truth, and we speak on things that had happened to our people, and we speak on the way our leaders manage these huge amount of money, and we talk about their shortcoming,
Hmm.
right? So around the nation, as I speak right now, they're doing flood assessment, right? That's what the governments claim that they're doing. Um, I saw that one. Mayor, Mayor Pablo Kawich in Belmopan. He's blaming the little village of Armenia.
Mm-hmm.
He says the flood came from Armenia and that's what messed up Belmopan, pretty much. That young man, you know, I think, his choice of words, he does not, fit, you know, um,
Mr. Chairman, it is alleged that that same young man said that the flooding is not a Belmopan issue or problem. I want him to tell that to his constituencies who just went through what they went through just now and what is to come yet.
yes,
Because he's going to go back to ask them for votes, you know,
exactly,
by next year, March.
exactly.
So I hope the people remember that when it comes to them.
So, Leonard, like I say, these leaders, they have a problem of taking responsibility. They have a problem for doing what's right. They have a problem for doing what's right. They cannot do what's right. Right? They have a problem doing that. Um, they are about when something happened, they're quick to find blame, point the blame. They see nothing else, Leonard, how to fix it or do right or no, they go straight to the blame, right? While they leave people displaced, Leonard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Displaced. And it's just not happening just right now, Leonard. It's been going on for many, 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 many years, right? So sad to see too, Leonard, how they hustle the taxpayers in times of disaster. It's a hustling game, it's a hustling frenzy, right? Because if so many food items should go to an area, what they do, Leonard, you know what they do, right? They try to measly and then two for over here, five for over here, and two for here. It's never evenly distributed. Never. And it's always politics plays in time of disaster. So, so sad. But,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman,
Yes,
I
sir.
see Mr. Brackett in the background, and he's not ready to put himself on yet because he's able to do that. No?
Okay, on up. Yes, yes, sir.
But I'm just
Yes,
giving you
sir.
that as a heads up. No? That
Thank you,
he's
sir.
coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome,
And
sir.
Leonard, you know, another thing that is going on in the nation right now is, preparation for election, despite, despite all the disaster, all the things that going on and the needs of the people and where the people should be looked on differently, right? Not looking on them that I want you to vote for me. I want you to support me. No, it shouldn't be about that around this time. But that's the priority right now of this People's United Party government. So they're using the election and boundaries department now, Leonard, to again do their hanky panky
Mm-hmm.
because of the March municipal election that is coming up, right? March election. So now they are in registration mode and transfer mode. That's
Mm-hmm.
what the election and boundaries department is doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to welcome our next senior panelist, our Monday night chairman, Mr. Gregory Brackett. Good
Good
night,
night,
sir.
good night, Mr. Chairman. Good night, my good cousin.
Good night, sir.
I want to say good night also to the people at home and abroad. I want to thank you for tuning into this 461st edition of Belizean's Affairs. I go back to you, Mr. Chairman.
No, I go to you, Mr. Brackett, because I want you to catch up with us. We were talking about the past flood. We're talking about this disaster right now around the country and the way it's been handled, right? Um, you know exactly what's going on. So I want you to share your concern and what you have seen so far and the solutions you have on that
Thank you, Mr.
matter.
Chairman. Before I do that, Mr. Chairman, I must call out our judicial system because when you have officers, police officers involved in crime, and you have magistrates who give them a pat on the back, is uncalled for, especially when the public wants to have other officers penalized. Let me go to the tape first
Go ahead, sir.
on this matter. Even though the tape has no volume on it, the magistrate had ruled in the favor of the police officer, stipulating he does not have no case to answer to. What court will do that when you can plainly see a sexual assault on a police officer? What court would do that when you have young men and other Belizean that barely touch a young girl or a teenager and they are sent to the prison and remand before their trial and they are liable to get years in prison? So
Mr.
is it
Brackett,
that we are not equal under Section 6 of the Belize Constitution? I go
Mr.
to you,
Brackett,
Mr.
so,
Brackett.
just a minute, sir. For the general public, we who are you that brought up the matter, and us here on the panel are fairly familiar with the incident or the issue. But could you, for the general public, for many of other people who may not have been following this issue or have not, or may not be aware of what the issue really is, could you elaborate a little bit more what brought us to the point of what you presented? Because looking at the tape, there may be other people who see the tape, but they don't understand really what's going on there because some of it is
Point
blacked out.
taken there,
Could you
Leonard.
help
Yeah,
us?
go ahead, Greg.
Could you
Go
help us
ahead,
with
Greg.
that, sir?
Yeah.
This
Thank you,
incident,
Leonard, for pointing that out, Leonard. Thank you.
thank
Welcome,
you,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Brackett. This
Welcome, sir.
incident happened in the Western District between two police officers. Allegedly, the officer, you see what he did. The female officer went and made a report. He was charged. Now, what I am saying, when you have incidents like these, regardless of what they happen, we have seen one where a police corporal pushed his wife in a culvert when
Mm-hmm.
some people had to stop him. We have seen the officer down in the south, what he did. We have seen an officer with a ballistic hitting another officer.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the Constitution speaks for itself. Section 6. And it says everybody should be treated equally according to law. It does not say that some people is above others, and we have two different type of law, one for the underprivileged and one for certain people. So for me personally, this female officer constitutional rights and civil liberties was being violated in front of other police officers. So there is no way a magistrate or a judge could have ruled that he does not have a case to answer to, unless
Sorry.
that magistrate or judge acted in judicial misconduct.
Uh,
Go
Mr.
to you,
Brackett?
Mr. Brackett.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, may I please?
Go ahead, Leonard. Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to clarify or clear up a technical, legal process, procedures, protocols, and the reason why we may have had the outcome that we did as extraneous and as onerous or as devious as it might appear to be. That is that we have eyes and we can see what the hell took place on the video. And what took place on that video cannot be described as a case, as a no case to answer scenario. But because of the legal process, procedures, and protocols, I want to explain further. That is that the only way a judge or a justice or anybody who is sitting on such a case would be able to justify coming up with such a erroneous ruling, because they are authorized to make a ruling. So you can't stop them from ruling whether rightfully or wrongfully or incorrectly. But they're supposed to rule according to law, first and foremost. Other than ruling according to law, if they don't, then they're in violation of their judicial ethics. They can be brought up, they can be disbarred, the judges can be sacked, and they are privileged to act as judges in all jurisdiction, can be taken away from them. But you have to go through the judicial, legal and judicial commission for that to happen. But what could have happened is that even though we saw the evidence that we saw with our own eyes, what was presented to the court at the time when that ruling was probably made was not sufficient, in the sense that the prosecution did not fulfill its obligation to prosecute and to prosecute effectively and to
Mr.
gain
Brackett,
justice on that.
have me an excuse, sir. Let me say this,
Go ahead,
right?
go ahead.
That is the issue I have with it. This police officer was never arrested by his own, and the case was forwarded to the DPP. The female officer had to go make the report and took him to court on her own.
With the DPP records may have reflected less than nothing, like the Budna case, which is what I'm trying to bring to.
But
Why I try to explain the technicalities of it, right? Because people don't really understand.
He should have went through the process of the DPP.
He should have been arrested right there and then. He should have been arrested and put on demand, just like any other civilian or any other person. But they're covered for each other. Okay.
Why should the officer?
And then the young lady got victimized again because her case was not pleaded properly, and the lawyer on behalf of the police officer probably asked the judge to rule that the police officer had no case to answer, and the judge cannot say yes, he has a case to answer if the judge is not satisfied and is given enough evidence, or the file is not substantive enough to prove that for the judge to rely on. The judge has to rely on what is presented to the judge. And
But
I'm saying to you,
Mr. Brackett, what he did was against the female officer's will.
we know that. We're not
And
disputing
he
that.
not only, that was not
And
only,
maybe the judge might have known that as well.
he
But the
he
prosecution
also slapped
has
her,
to,
which is
the
also
prosecution
another
has a
charge.
burden. Yes, but I'm saying, Mr. Brackett, the prosecution has a burden that the prosecution may not have fulfilled in the presence of the judge during the course. Because a lot of times, even
One would never know, Leonard. One would never know.
yes,
Right?
they even
One
say
would never know.
But
they
I
have
am
what they call
saying
So,
to
no,
you, sir,
no le
there was
persecutor.
no persecution in the form of the DPP. It was officer against officer. That is why I disagree with it.
exactly.
Yes, what I'm saying.
So,
I'm saying the legal process is that that female police officer was done a disservice by his colleague to have assaulted her in the first place that we saw with our own eyes. Okay. Secondly, the system, the police officers that were in that room at that time that we saw as well, none of them stepped up and arrested the other guy or put him on a remand. For all I know, that guy could have been drunk, and because they're there, but they don't want to try and destroy the guy's career.
again,
They're not doing fairness by
again,
to
Greg,
her.
thank you. Yes, Leonard, Greg, again, thank you for yet another uh, misuse of justice, right? Justice was not rendered where it should have rendered. And
Mr. Chairman?
thank you for
Oh, sorry.
pointing out again another police. Greg, you have pointed out numerous incidents around the country
Mr. Chairman,
concerning, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, before we leave that particular case, I just wanted to mention that the young lady should have been able to depend on her other colleagues there in the police station that was seeing what was happening to come to her rescue as a female in the first place and as a police officer in the second place. And thirdly, because the guy was physically aggressive. It wasn't like a subtle something that just happened that maybe some people never noticed or didn't. The guy was outrightly intimidating the woman. Okay? Physically. In the presence of
Something,
other police
yes,
officers. So they should have stepped in. They should have remanded him, put him under custody because they are witness, as a matter of fact, to his violation of the law. He has no immunity to his conduct in the police station at that.
there we go again,
He
Leonard.
should have been locked
There
up
we
behind bars
go again, right?
and then put through the same process like any other alleged criminal,
We
right? To be
see, yes,
arrested, be locked up, put into remand until maybe the following day or whatever day that
exactly.
he could have gone
There are
before.
procedure, Leonard. There is a procedure, and you point there is a
Exactly.
procedure that
And there's,
might should have been done, and it never did,
and
happen, right?
I'm quite sure that this
So,
particular judge that's made that ruling is also aware of that case. That case didn't come to him without him having some knowledge or understanding about what's happening with that case before he had to make a ruling.
yeah,
He must have
so
known either by the newspaper or by whatever other means, even by the records. But I'm saying
exactly.
because
So
the prosecution did not plead the case to justify the judge being able to rely on the
we
prosecution.
don't know that, Leonard. We don't know that. We
No,
don't know
I'm
what they
wait,
Mr.
plea. I
Brackett,
don't know. I don't know.
Mr.
I cannot.
Brackett,
That's your
sir,
right.
but
sir,
again, sir,
We
I
don't know
have
what
to
was
tell
presented.
you,
Mr.
We
Chairman.
don't
there
know
was
what was
no
presented in court. We
I
don't
heard
know.
I heard your
persecution.
point, Mr. Chairman, but I'm trying to
History,
explain to you how the process works. And if
Yes,
the
yes,
process
yes,
had worked,
yes. We
it would
know.
have had the outcome. And because the process
Exactly.
didn't work, it had this particular outcome, which is
Eh,
onerous.
Very much so.
Okay,
And
that's
and
what I'm
and,
trying
and
to
but
say.
yes, and
you
guys,
need,
listen. Hey,
Mr.
guys,
Chairman,
listen to this too. But don't we all see a pattern, Leonard and Greg? Don't we all don't see a pattern?
There's a subversion of our legal system. It's not operating the way it used to operate.
but
And
Miss,
apparently, the new way they want it to operate, which is that if the ministers then say
Exactly.
one thing, that's the law of the
Exactly.
day.
Exactly.
The Constitution does not have any.
but
Um,
Mr. Chairman, the
Yes, Greg.
reason I brought it up is to show double standards.
Exactly.
What
And we
I'm
talked about double
saying,
standard too, Greg, on the Belize River Valley thing too, right? Didn't we, Leonard?
right?
Uh-huh.
But
Right,
what
right.
I'm saying in this case is, and I keep saying it to my cousin, he's talking about the persecution. The female officer was not represented by the DPP, so there's no persecution there. She was
Exactly.
there by herself and maybe her attorney. So
Yeah.
there's no persecution
Yes,
Persecution.
but
Yeah,
representation.
yeah.
her attorney, any attorney in Belize, I'm going to make a stipulation. Any attorney in Belize that is worth the assault would have known that if a judge, if the opposing attorney is asking the judge, because the judge don't willy-nilly get off his seat and make any such ruling. Those rulings are based on the request by the adversary advocate, the adversary lawyer. Okay, they would ask the judge to rule that substantive enough information has not been provided for the man to have to answer to a case. That's a preliminary process. That happens in the court well, I wouldn't say all the time, most of the time. And the judge fell for it. Why? Because there was no rebuttal to that request
You
or
see,
the demand.
Mr. Brackett,
we,
the only
so,
way he can walk away with an okay submission is if the plaintiff did not follow through with the charges, as in the other officer and the young child.
No, the charges was filed. That's why they had a case. And the judge should not have entertained any idea that the case was thrown out without, first of all, checking out the facts for himself or herself, depending on whether it's a female or male judge.
Let me say
They
this to
failed.
you.
They failed the young lady.
Let me say this
exactly.
to you, right? And I want you, the people at home and abroad, to listen to what I have to say. I just been to the police station on Thursday with a young man. Actually, it was three young men that was charged with aggravated assault.
Mm-hmm.
One pleaded guilty, and the police was looking for the other two. They picked up one, and I accompanied the next one there. So when I asked them what was the charge, they said aggravated assault. So I'm like, well, that's strange to me, aggravated assault. So I asked him,
Where's the evidence of proof?
no, I asked him to please, right? I asked them to please tell me, describe the meaning of aggravated assault. And they couldn't do it. So I said to them, I said, you guys are overcharging these young men,
Very likely.
because all they did was went up to someone. They didn't touch him. He has no marks. So what is the definition of aggravated assault? They didn't answer. Then I asked them, well, do you guys have a doctor report?
Mm-hmm. Where's the evidence? As I said,
There was none. The young men, they went to the court on Monday. And you know what the judge did? Throw out the case.
no case to answer, just like what we're talking about right now.
So, so Greg and Leonard,
Not
right?
that the crime didn't get committed,
don't, don't
We haven't even
see,
gotten there yet.
Greg?
Oh,
Thank you for
yeah.
bringing that up, my brother. Again, yet you see a double standard, right? And then, Greg and Leonard, we wonder why there is so much domestic abuse by spouses. You know, I'm talking male to female.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's most of them, Greg and Leonard, they get a pat on the back, right? And then if the female does not
Oh,
fight and
press.
pursue,
Mm-hmm.
you see what happened. So then what do you think that the system is doing? Encouraging, right?
Mr.
Because
Chairman,
go ahead, Greg.
this question had came up before and I have answered it on more than one platform. There is no reason for the government or the judicial system to use JPs
There you go. There
to
you
do the
go.
police work. And I keep saying this government have a legislative body with a super majority. And I was saying this from uh, Miss Dolores Balderramos was heading that department. We saw what happened with the
Sad,
police officer and young kid.
sad,
Then they
sad,
cry
sad.
foul when the judge dismissed the charge and wanted it reinstated. I can say this to you. Anybody who study laws should know that that is what is called double jeopardy because he faced a judge and it was dismissed. He had no
Exactly.
charge to answer to. But why I am saying this is because I have said it more than once that the legislature needs to pass a law that the state will pick up any such charges if the plaintiff wants to walk away. Whenever there's a domestic violence, regardless if the plaintiff wants to withdraw charges, the state should pick it up. And they have not done that. I'm speaking about it now, and they have not done that. Instead of doing that, they are going after the JPs to try to use them, which is out of context.
So
And I
true
am
on that.
saying this because
But
it's
JPs
the
have no.
same scenario with the
Anyway,
ombudsman. They terminate him when he is the protector of the people who should hold the government accountable. But yet they want to use JPs to do lawful work that the police officers should do. I
but
go back to you, Mr.
So
Chairman.
true on that, Greg. So
Mr.
true on that.
Chairman,
I want to
as
go
regards
ahead.
to what Greg was saying just now, the JPs cannot be put in a bind to act in those capacities because they are not trained in the first place and they are not legally authorized. Secondly, they have no knowledge, understanding, and or experience in doing lawyers' work, and that's going to create a problem with the bar and the legal community because you're empowering people with
That is
powers of
technically
state.
exactly what Greg was
Uh-huh.
trying to.
You're
Yeah.
empowering people with powers
Hmm.
of state for which they have no
Yeah.
capacity, ability, and
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
true commitment in terms
Yeah.
of
Hmm.
because what happens is that they want to make the JP the fill in where lawyers or the police investigators, the CIB and others should be filling in and filling out the reports or the information that substantiates the case. If you don't have anything in the files, you can't create a bogus file and say, well, that's what the file's supposed to be. Because when it goes to the court and it gets challenged by a legal mind, a well trained legal mind, a strategic operator of the law, such as an experienced senior counsel, those things will be thrown out and you won't have a case to
Yeah.
continue forward with. It's not always the case that they pronounce that you don't have a case to answer because there is no case. You don't have the evidence to support the overcharging or the mischarging that is applied
You
by some
know,
of the
these kinds of actions, we need to keep calling it out because it's not right.
and it's going to
Then
get worse, Mr.
again, while
Chairman.
I'm talking about These are things that we talk about a lot about domestic abuse, right? We do not, we here on our Belizean Affairs Show, we do not subscribe to domestic abuse. And we do not subscribe to the way how some of these judges rules on some of these domestic abuse cases, right? I, I for one would say, that because of, that machoism, right? And a lot of these leaders, a lot of them is involved in domestic abuse.
Mm-hmm.
We see it publicly, right? That the matter isn't seriously put to stand, right? Because why? Some of them don't want to look bad,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them just want to continue their evil ways, right? Abusing their spouses, right? Abusing women, right?
Well,
So that part, I would say that they will not act on it seriously, right? And do what they're supposed to do because a lot of them are violators,
mm-hmm.
right? So that's what I got to say on that. It's a shame. It's sad. It's a travesty, right? It's something that shouldn't happen, especially when it comes to our women, right? We all have mothers and sisters and nieces, female family members, right? And some of us witness, the abuse, right, by their loved ones, right? And you know, as for me, Leonard, I do not subscribe to that kind of behavior, right? Um, but on the wider audience out there and the wider society, the men feel like they can abuse their female partner and it's okay, right? A lot of them, they're not afraid to do it because of what they see happening in the judiciary system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that need to change, Leonard, I think, right? I know it has to change because it's not fair, or it's unethical, it's evil, it's bad all around, Leonard. And then so
Well,
sadly, on some of these domestic abuse, you have children involved.
mm-hmm.
Children. Is that the message that the judiciary want to keep sending? Then we wonder how these young men and young women grew up to be not so good a person in society, right?
Mr. Chairman, um,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make another stipulation, and that is that
Yes, sir.
I'm personally aggrieved at the idea that our judiciary and our legal system, the way it is going right now, is drifting too far off an even keel. As to say, in other words, then the government is bringing in judges to make rulings based on the judge's perspective or the judge's wishes, not judges, based on the government's perspective or government's wishes, and they're hoping that these judges, when the civilians they get uh, in trouble with the law or they're accused about becoming lawbreakers, they can't even get the regular judges to rule constitutionally to support the rights of the population. We see the
Amen
government
to that.
officers commit, both police officers as well as government ministers and government employees, they commit uh, serious crimes or offenses against the civilians, And when the civilians go to get justice through the legal system, they're not afforded that justice.
Exactly. Thank
They're
you, Leonard.
laughed out of the court, as
Welcome
in the
back.
case,
Welcome back, Greg. Welcome back.
as in the case that we
We,
just
we
Thank
were
you,
discussed.
still,
Mr.
yeah,
Chairman.
we were still debating on the items you brought up, right? And we were still discussing, me and Leonard, while you were right kicked off, or or had to leave, right? But you have the floor again, Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And while we were having that discussion, I needed not to say there's a lot happening in Belize. There's really a lot happening in Belize, and I heard you earlier while I was in the background talking about election. And since you brought it up, I might as well go to it.
Thank you.
Yes, we have a case on July 21st against the Attorney General for the failure of the government to fill that important post of the Ombudsman. There is no way in the Constitution that a government can decide in and of their own selves that we can delay and not have an ombudsman. That is not that is not right, and therefore we want the court to set that right so that it does not happen again. There is no reason to have an ombudsman in place, even though there is move to turn it into a human rights office. That should not prevent the people during that process to have an access to an ombudsman. In fact, the big flaw was that they terminated the former ombudsman without even having someone in place. That should not have happened. It is like saying, well, we will not have a governor general. Let us wait on because we're going to try to figure out what the role will be, or we will not have a minister in his office, or we will not have anybody. We will not have auditor general. We will not have these key positions until we decide when we are ready. That cannot happen, and that is unconstitutional, and therefore they cannot come up with those kinds of excuses.
Mr. Chairman, and people at home and abroad, what Mr. Enriquez is saying is factual. We have a Governor General that does not have an entourage to back her. We had an ombudsman that was trying to hold the government accountable, and you saw what happened to him. We didn't have an auditor general, even though we brought it up here on Belizean Affairs and many shows. And you see what is happening now. A lot of hanky-panky going on within the system. So what Mr. Enriquez is saying is within his right, and the Belizean people should know. I go back to you, sir.
Thank you, Leonard. Go ahead, Leonard.
Thank you very much, sir. Um, Mr. Enriquez spoke to the fact that the government should not have the ombudsman office, which is a constitutional office, by the way. So the government have no authority or rights to deflect from that office or its position or its function. It's a constitutional office equal to that of a judge, and it's mandated that we have that constitutional office and officer who advocate on behalf of the people or of the country as an independent arbiter, and to go after the government even if they need to at government expense. Why? Because we are the government. But if the caretakers are hauling pulling the system, the ombudsman have the power and authority vested in it constitutionally to step to the plate and make demands of the caretaking government to fulfill its obligation under the Constitution. And these guys are trying not to have that office fail by the previous ombudsman, and to have the office be vacant so that they don't have to answer to any of the things that other people right now would probably go to the ombudsman office if the ombudsman was still in position in his occupying the office, to have the ombudsman investigate the government or put pressure on the government. So it's convenient for the government to play the fool and go along with this process as a delay tactic to not have that constitutional officer being in position to be able to put any pressure on them. And the idea that they are holding out from having that office, uh, having an officer sit in that office to fulfill that constitutional obligation. The idea that the caretaking government would attempt to keep that office vacant is a travesty. Because in the first place, that office, the gentleman, okay, let me say it like this: that office is not something like what they are trying to create right now with this human rights office that they are trying to develop. Even if they develop a human rights office, that does not replace the ombudsman. As a matter of fact, the human rights office should come under the ombudsman purview or authority or constitutional status. They can say that they don't have an ombudsman in place because they are trying to create a complete different office that has nothing to do with the powers and authorities vested in the Constitution right now for the governor, for the ombudsman. They're conflating, they're lying for convenience, and they're trying to take everybody for a bunch of fools. But legally, constitutionally, technically, it's a farce. And they're getting away with it because nobody can take their hands and force them to do the job that they are getting paid for. Therefore, they should return part of their salary. They're not fulfilling the mandate
Thank you.
that is given
Thank
to
you.
them.
Thank you. Greg, thank you for bringing up that tape. And thank you, Leonard. Well said.
You're welcome, sir.
And then, Greg and Leonard, you see how they spin the whole scenario as to why the ombudsman was contract was not renewed. They spin what they want to do, and they spin how they will do it, and they spin the whole thing around, trying to paint a scenario, a different scenario than what should be in terms of why don't we have an ombudsman? But they create a different scenario, right? And they're dodging the real issue, right? So they will, in my humble view, that they'll play around with that, right? Remember that, Leonard and Greg, that they still have constitution reform,
That's
right?
coming. That's coming up on Friday, sir.
So, Greg, I
Executive,
will not say no more on that because then we will see the
executive,
outcome, right? Of all this scenario that is playing out, we will see the outcome.
Miss,
And one more thing before I go back to you, Greg, is that as for my colleague, Mr. Enriquez, and the rest of the guys, I want to thank them for being steadfast, right? But the answer will come, Greg and Leonard, when we get a ruling from the judge, right?
that
And
is correct.
we will
eh,
see how that will play
they're
out.
hoping they're hoping that these judges that they have will be suborned to them like the other ones done before. So the case will go
So
in their favor again,
exactly. So I go back.
while they keep violating the Constitution.
So I go back to you, Greg. I go back to you.
Mr. Chairman, I want to say this based on what I have seen and my belief why there is not an ombudsman. The ombudsman was removed because of Mr. Enriquez.
Mm-hmm.
who went there for a 4 year
Mm-hmm.
that has to do with the redistricting case. But Mr. Enriquez is smart enough to know where to attack. Because since they removed the ombudsman, now it's better for him to go after the election and boundaries. So let me go to the tape.
Before Greg.
Jeremy Enriquez and his attorney senior counsel Anand Ramlogan can breathe a little easier tonight. The Caribbean Court of Justice has ruled in their favor, dismissing a wasted costs order that Justice Tawanda Hondora had issued against them.
That was the most ridiculous, shameful, and disgraceful kind of.
Okay, we knew about that ruling from the CCJ, but
And you see what Chico and your husband just set up there? None of them live there just now. So how them are going to register people there?
We happened upon one of those voter registration disputes while in Mesopotamia, right at the corner of Iguana and Bocatora streets. UDP operative Brian Yellowman Ardinet stepped in to challenge what he believed was an unlawful registration taking place. But Chief Elections Officer Josephine Tamai says there are established channels for raising those concerns, and taking matters into your own hands isn't one of them. Tamai says to file an objection, the elector shall deliver to the registering officer a notice of objection in Form 14A of the Representation of the People Act, stating the grounds for the objection. This must be done by the 25th of the month. Thereafter, a revision court will be held before the end of the month where the revising officer, who is the magistrate, will hear the case and make a determination if the name is to remain or be removed from the list. But Ardinet chose to
Mr. Chairman and my good cousin and people at home and abroad, this is what is happening before the municipal election. I had a tape where Mr. Enriquez is suing the election and boundaries
Yeah.
to put forth evidence that they are doing the redistricting. But as you and I know, based on what was said by the PM, he described the ruling as the case as being moot. But it is my belief you will find a lot of this happening in Belize, and I will tell you why. The present government has no choice than to buy this election, regardless of its cost. And I will say this publicly from my belief. If they don't, and the leader of the opposition get into power, they already know, like the Democrats in the US, some of them will go to jail. So they will try to prevent it at any cost. And I want to say this to the people at home and abroad. Before we start to use racism against a female leader of the opposition, I want to remind you that there have been superb female leaders around the world, like Miss Thatcher, like Mia Mottle, like Miss Indira Gandhi, and there are many more. Since 1981, Belize has always had a man to lead this country, and all of them had failed. So why not give a lady who is a mother, who has children, as the saying goes, a mother always know what is best for for her children. Likewise, being a lady, she should know what is best for this country, because it sure ain't no man, especially the present government. I go back to you, sir.
Thank you. Well said there. Well said there, Greg. This is something that I have been talking about lately a lot. The I call it the mode of the general the election and boundaries, and I talk about.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarity, have me an excuse.
Okay,
I want
okay.
to stipulate that I am an elector and I vote for the party who I believe will serve the country to the base. I am what I consider myself an other, meaning I will vote for what I think is best for the country, exceptionally not blue or red. And I need to put this out there because my belief is the best remedy for Belize is to put in independent, put in blue, put in red, but don't give no party a super
Super
majority.
majority.
Let them all have to depend on one and each other to pass legislation. This is the only way the people of Belize will see this country moving forward. I go back to you, sir.
Well said there, Greg. Well said. I am of the same opinion, and the same mindset. Um, we see the constant behavior of the election and boundaries, right? When the UDP in power, we see how they behave. When the PUP in power, we see how they behave. You, Leonard, and you, Greg, and myself know how they should rightfully behave, how they should rightfully, carry on their duties. But we see from time to time what they do on election day or when election is coming, right? Um, we see how they do things not the way that it should be done, right? Why they do it? They have a reason why they do it. They don't want to lose their jobs, and a lot of them are being, are threatened, right, by the government in power, right? Threatening various ways. Well, I remove you here, or I put you here, or something, and this way you may get, get no more, and all that kind of shenanigans that goes on, right? And the way the country is going right now is going in the wrong direction, and I just hope and pray that it gets fixed before the next election. I hope that it gets fixed, right? But I don't see it getting done, right? Because of the attitude of this present government. Like you rightfully says, Greg, if they are supposed to win the next election, they will have to spend a lot of money, right? They will have to buy this election because the electorate out there is not in their favor. Not in their favor. So, like you rightfully says, I would like to see others step up because others hasn't fleeced the way this two-party system had fleeced. And I would like to see not a super majority again. So for this Briseno administration to win the next election, like I say again, they will have to spend a lot of money, right? So the way I see it right now, they are gathering. So the UDP will have to try to match them, which is, I don't think will happen, right? But I trust the Belizean people not to do what they did on the last election, Greg and Leonard, in giving these guys a full reign to do what they're doing to us. I hope that the Belizean people don't give them that amount of power anymore. I just hope and pray that that happen. Right. So, I have no confidence. I had stood up publicly and speak out against the electoral process, against the election and boundaries department, right? Against the election process, period, right? But what I'm saying is that, you know, um, it's so sad, to see how this department plays a very integral role in deciding election, right? So sad to see that. A lot of
Mr.
people would
Chair,
not
I'm sorry.
realize or know what I'm talking about, but you and Leonard know exactly what I'm talking about, right? They are part and parcel of the corrupted ways of the electoral process. I go to you, Leonard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Uh, a little while ago, Mr. Greg Brackett played a tape that showed Yellow Man, and who is a campaigner on behalf of the UDP, and, and another gentleman who they had called an office an officer from the Election and Boundaries Department to come out and verify an allegation that was being made. That is that they were trying to register people in a house where the people didn't live. Now, bear in
When
mind,
will it stop?
this has
When
been
will it
happening.
stop?
This has been happening from before Independence Day. Okay, I can tell you that,
I know that too.
and it hasn't
And Greg
stopped.
know that.
It hasn't stopped. But the idea that Mr. Mai, as the CEO for the Election and Boundaries Department, would stipulate the law as it is written, but not as it is practiced,
I said
to
that in a
justify
meeting. I
to
stood up
justify
personally and I said that in a meeting.
to justify her position as an officer responsible for seeing to it that the whole department process and procedures are carried out legally and lawfully. She would say that Mr. Yellowman is not doing it right by making a scene and making it public. So it became news and was able to get on the airwaves for the general public to be aware of what's really going on. That is to say, she wants Mr. Yellowman to go and make the report as I think it ought to be made, according to the rules, and should be made, but not by Yellowman, but rather by Yellowman superiors, which are, you'd say, are the officers of the UDP, to make a formal complaint to the Election and Boundaries Department, and to point out that while the rule says that the officer will check and decide, it leaves the officer in a position where the officer is apparently now deciding to contravene and violate the very laws that they're supposed to be upholding that Mr. Mai was talking about. How the hell can that square? She's saying one thing through one side of her mouth, and then something else is being understood from the other side of the expression and the actions that they're
Yeah.
carrying out.
Yes, sir.
Because
Yes.
the officer that came to the place there in the truck, in the vehicle, the Election and Boundaries vehicle, they told her what was happening. She saw and understood what was happening, but yet she won't defy the laws of the country and make her own decision to keep an illegal registration legal. And then that registration that she validates comes out on a report close to the election date, and you can't go and change it because it is within July and August that this process takes place and needs to be corrected within 29 days, as they have said. How the hell that's going to get corrected when the list is not provided to
So
you until very
sad.
close to the election? It's a
It's
hanky
so
panky
sad.
that goes on.
It's so
It's
sad.
designed. We're living in a
Exactly.
designer system,
Thank
as Meg
you.
always says.
Thank you, Leonard. We are just about that time. Greg,
bunch of cons.
can you please take the last and close us out, please, Greg?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to say this. Elections are won on election days. This is one time I want to ride with the CEO of the police department. Don't listen to the noise out there, because election is won on election day. But I would hope
I laugh on that one.
that is a true statement of fact, Mr. Wade.
Yes, yes, yes.
Don't
No, I
listen.
laugh on what he had said. He did say that, right?
Right.
Don't
But
listen to the noise.
Greg, when the Fort George division and the Pickstock division won their seat before election day coming by, how does that square? I know why Mr. Wade laughed just now, right?
Mr. Wade, you're laughing. I'm nowhere close to Mr. August. But a true statement of fact.
Yes, sir.
I want to use the terminology as the CEO.
Yes, sir.
Don't listen to the noise out there. Election is won on election day.
Yes, sir. Right.
And that's a true statement of fact.
And it's very true when you said, Greg, quickly, it's very true when you said they will have to have a lot of money this time around. More, triple than what they had the last time. And I want to leave you with
I will tell you a quick story. I'm telling you one 10-second story.
Go ahead, Leonard.
The Fort George division and the Pickstock division campaigners never get their money because they never had to campaign. So that money was put into Albert division and into Collect division. Okay?
All right.
And the Fort George PUP people, they were mad like hell. As well as the Pickstock PUP people, they were mad because they didn't get their money, their little subvention that's supposed to come to them for them to vote and campaign. They didn't get their cookies.
Don't say. Yeah? Greg.
Mr. Wade, with indulgence, when I speak about the noise out there, let me clarify it this way.
Okay.
And I got some news for Jan Zaldivar, because he was the one that is being so pious. The Auditor General is also going to be auditing all the way to 2015.
Mr. Chairman, here is more noise out there.
Tracy, we think that the people forget how she gave away Bolido to a member of the borough government. We have to remind her, who did she give the Bolido to?
That was a bold-faced lie.
Listen to that guy.
Don't
Leonard, that's not a lie. It's not a lie to some. It's not a lie to some.
He's lying to people who don't know better and who take it as gospel and believe that because he said it.
Yes, sir.
There's merit.
Yes, Greg.
Don't listen to the noise out there. Election is one an election day.
Tracy was never the leader of the party at that time, and she just got leadership of the party recently. Nor was she a minister at that time. And she had no power or authority.
That guy have no shame in his game. Put it that way. He has no shame in his game.
And for occupying the position that he's occupying and
say no more,
behaving the way he's behaving. I think
always a pleasure, Greg.
I have to start last time like I used to last before, Mr. Chairman. I got to go back to my old ways.
Thank you, Greg. It's always a pleasure, Leonard. Nicely said, Greg. Nice, well put together. Thank you very much. And these are reality. And Greg, I always appreciate from there when you come and you show to the nation and the world from their own mouth. From their own mouth. Say no more. Back to you, Greg.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Mr. Chairman. I want to say good night to you, the people at home and abroad. I want to thank you guys for tuning into this our 461st edition of Belizean Affairs. Hoping that you will come back this Friday when we have Constitutional Night. With that said, I want to say again, this platform is basically to educate you on our Constitution and to speak about what is happening in the country of Belize. With that, I want to say good night.